hello, good evening, our Kyber Cave family. How are you doing?
Hello there.
Hello, Say Wong and Mr. Mike Berger. Good to see you here this evening. Yes, it was actually like, I wouldn't say anyone was really at fault for being late per se. We got in and I just didn't realize what time it was when we were chatting. I was like, oh crap, it's 7:03. We gotta go.
But it definitely
So
wasn't my fault. I was already
it was
there.
not, Van was here. It was not his fault. Oh, sorry, I accidentally clicked that.
Oh, okay.
Not a big deal. It just happened. I look kind of dark, don't I? Do I look dark to you guys?
You are chilling in the dark a little bit there.
I'm chilling in the dark. And now I'm a
Yeah, I
little
didn't
brighter.
expect my overhead lights are out here. I didn't expect, or I would have brought that ring light in that
I
you.
know. I'm like every time I change something of my setup, I give what I had to Van to try to like
I get the hand
yeah,
me down
he gets the
stuff.
hand me down. I had contemplated what else could I try to find him? I actually have something for him that I haven't given him yet. It's called a USB hub. It's
Ooh,
if you don't know what that is, if any of you don't know what that is, it has the same purpose of like a power strip for USBs. It turns one into like four.
that's dope because I actually am using up all my spots.
Yeah, so this will help so you can have a little extra space when
Woohoo,
needed.
thank you.
You're welcome. I also bought you a mouse that doesn't need batteries. It's just a rechargeable battery.
Oh my goodness.
I got a while back, and I haven't seen you in person in a while, so I need to come by the shop on a Sunday real quick and drop it off to you. Anyway, so good evening, everybody. We are glad to have you here with us. We've been having a busy week. We had we had an extra stream on Saturday morning right before Nerd Out. That was cool.
That was a lot
Um,
of fun. I was getting ready to wait for Nerd Out, and they
Thank
were
you.
playing Mortal Kombat, which was
Yeah,
a
and
ton of fun.
I was so bummed to not be at Nerd Out. I do apologize. I had to kind of mom it up a little bit because my kiddo, he had been sick and there was confusion. And for some reason, his book report, like paper, got lost in his bag, and his book report was due last Wednesday. So we had to jump on
Okay.
it and take it. We spent about 5 hours, like completely in finishing it and everything, but it's done. But it had to be like a mom thing to get that taken care of. All right. So, guys, do you know what the first thing we do? You remember?
Dun, 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 nerdy news.
Nerdy news. First thing on
Woo.
the nerdy news, y'all. You'll love this DIY loft cat pumpkin meow and
Oh wow.
forever. So, excuse me. I'm going to post the link, but it's also in the description below that you can actually find the information in the instructions on how to make your own loft cat. The guy on the left.
Ooh.
It's really, really cute and fun. Make sure if you're a kid watching this that you ask for parental supervision when making these, but they're so freaking adorable. I want one. Like I want a real one, but that's just not a thing. So I can't do that, unfortunately. So yes. And then next on our nerdy news, there's new posters for the Marvels that came out.
Oh.
These are three of I think the 5 or 6 that are actually out there. Yeah, there's
Ooh.
6 total. Here's are the 3 of them. And you can find the rest of them in the description in the article there or in the chat that I just popped it into. So you can check out all of the pictures there. There's one of the Flurkin, the
Oh.
cat. There's Nick Fury, and then there's another character that I don't know the name of. A lot of people might also actually know it. Mick Berger bought a loft cat at Downtown Disney. Nice. Maybe I should, if I ever get to go to Disney again, I'll get one there. All right, so that is your nerdy news. I know it's not like huge stories, but I thought those were kind of fun and interesting. I always like to keep it light for our nerdy news on Sunday evenings. Kind of have a lighthearted thing that leads you to the beginning of your week. So that is your nerdy
Yes.
news for today.
Woo.
Did you have a
Exciting,
good week,
exciting.
sir? I didn't even ask you. Did you have a good
You,
week?
it's been pretty normal. We don't have any cons or anything until November, so this month has just been really,
Dry.
really, really slow and not a lot happening. Plus, I haven't been working, so it's been like slower than most for me.
Yeah.
I do have I don't know if I should say anything because I'm supposed to be finding out tonight. I have an interesting bit of news that happened was I made it through the third round for a game
Oh.
show for like
Mm-hmm.
interviews and stuff. and I'm supposed to be knowing either tonight or tomorrow if I made it onto the show or not.
Oh, that's
So
exciting. I don't think you can't say anything. I think it's more like you can't say what happens on the show until after it airs.
right.
Um,
It's a very interesting show. It's called The Blocks. It is a combination small business incubator, meaning they look for small businesses with potential. Um, it is a reality TV show because you like live in this house and they videotape you behind the scenes. And then it's also a game show where you're competing against these other small
mhm.
businesses. And then at the end of the week, you go up in front of like 100 investors, and the idea is to like sell your business and be able to grow your business from that. It's kind of like The Apprentice meets Shark Tank,
Okay, okay, that makes
but in
sense.
a reality show.
Well, for those who don't know, that was going on this weekend was TwitchCon down in
Oh.
Southern California. They had not Las Vegas, excuse me. They were in Las Vegas this year. They actually had some events in that big giant new sphere that they have in Las Vegas.
Ooh,
So
yes.
that was really cool to see some streams of. I got to watch. I'm hoping to go next year, but we'll see what happens.
No, see, by next
Um,
year, you'll be one of the presenters.
oh, highly doubt that. That would be amazing, but I highly doubt that. I appreciate confidence though.
You
uh,
can do it.
yeah, I can do it. All right. So first on our list, guys, after we have nerdy news, we know we do flow of the show, where James Kaiser brings us a flow artist, and tonight's flow artist is a bit kind of interesting. I found it quite entertaining. So
All
please,
right.
you can find his Instagram in the description below. You can also find it in the chat coming up right now. But please enjoy this flow of the show from Saber Teddy. Thank you, James Kaiser. Very much appreciated. Isn't that kind of entertaining? I was like, oh, little
Wow.
teddy bear on his head.
It's Flo and furries combined, and his ears were glowing too. Did you notice that?
Yes.
It
Hi,
reminded me of
Kevin
your
Hogan.
headphones.
Oh, yeah, the ones I have right here that are currently charging. Thank you, Kevin Hogan. Good to see you. He is in our chat hanging out. He's his van taking road trip to a road trip for attack run against the Las Vegas Death Sphere. Yes. That would be really cool to go on there once. Go there. When I went like a year ago, I don't recall ever seeing that being built, but you know, who knows exactly what stage it was in when we went a year ago.
So I've taken a few trips and I've seen it being built up or whatever. I can't remember when I was down last, but it is just absolutely amazing. And I'm sure you've seen the memes where people have made it look like the Death Star.
Oh yeah, the ones I love, it looks like a big emoji face, and it's like looking around.
Mm-hmm.
Looks down at the train passing by, and it's like really cute.
Mets, what are you doing for Halloween?
Taking my kid trick or treating and possibly doing a stream. We might be doing a scary game stream, but probably taking my kid trick or treating. He wants to be this little like character on YouTube called Chicken Nugget, which is actually a dog. He's got a little plush of him. It's not in here. Sometimes it's in here, but it's not in here right now.
Right.
But it's really cute. But what about you?
I honestly don't. I have no idea. My kid is, he's 14, so he's at that age where, like last year, he wanted to go hang out with his friends instead of Halloween trick or treating.
My
So
oldest is like, I don't want to dress up. I just don't want to put the effort in. He's almost 14. And so I was like, okay, that's fine.
I know. I feel like I should be doing something. It's the one time where I have a good excuse to bust out the lightsaber and put on like some kind of a costume without feeling like a dork. But I don't know.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being a dork. Okay, nothing wrong with it.
That's right. Along with the dorks.
Well, would you like to introduce our guest?
I would. I found out we're twinsies today.
Some of you might know this guest pretty well.
And if you don't, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, we're looking in KCP.
I'm very excited to have on. I want to say, I can't remember exactly when, but I want to say it's been roughly a year since we've had him on the first time, right? Like pretty somewhere close. In the 10 months or 11 months.
I'm going to look it up and I'll put it in the chat for you.
Yes. This guest that we have coming on, it has been roughly a year since we first had him on. When we first had him on, Mets brought him on, and it was someone that I knew nothing about. But he runs a podcast called We Mostly Pod Out at Night, mostly. It is a horror podcast, and that's what we began talking to him about. But ever since then, he has absolutely exploded in popularity. The man is all over the place. Currently, he does 3 shows on KCP. He does Retro Alcove on Mondays. On Saturdays, he does Saturday Morning Nerd Out. And then we have 2 Beards in a Chair on Fridays, right? Is that correct? Or is that mostly?
Yes, that is Friday. That's Friday evening. Usually both of them are on there, but it's Beard in the Chair, so it can be just singular if needed. And he was on October 9th of last year, so it was barely over a year ago.
Wow, just barely over a year. So this would be about the anniversary. So he's Beard in the Chair. Not only does he do that, he does his own podcast, plus does he do 1 or 2 for Disney? Well, you know what? I'll ask him. I don't know why I'm asking you.
Don't talk to me about him. He's here.
On top of the fact that he's currently working with other groups on other side projects and maybe even some brewing on top of that. So instead of trying to figure this all out, let's talk to the man directly. Please give it up for Mr. Graveyard.
Hey.
Ooh, what's going on, Daddy-O?
Oh, not too much. It's weird to not control anything on the screen. It's great.
Right, you're on the opposite side this time.
Yes.
We're asking you the questions, buddy.
Ooh.
Can you believe it's been a year? October 9th is when we did our interview with you. Can you believe it's been a year now?
It's amazing the growth that has happened in the past year. You know, we just like an hour before the show, we recorded our 67th episode for the podcast.
Wow.
And when I was on last, I think we were only on episode 4 or 5.
Right. You had just begun.
Yes.
That is absolutely amazing. How's that going for you?
It's going pretty good. We are getting more attention. Last year, we had sponsored a movie at a movie marathon in Chicago, and we were invited back this year because they want to take our money first and foremost. But they really enjoy the experience, and for me, last year I didn't get up in front of people and talk. I wasn't comfortable enough with it. But having done this show and other shows for a year now, I went up, talked to people, handed out stuff, and it's just a drastic change for me in my personality of being comfortable getting in front of people.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you as a person, not only are you doing 700 shows now, but I mean, even the way you host and you seem to have evolved a lot yourself. What do you think has been the biggest change for you in this last year? What's been your biggest hurdle that you've had to get over, and the biggest thing that you have learned?
I think for me, like we've discussed many times off screen, that when I was in high school and stuff like that, I did theater and drama and was an actor and director and stuff like that. But I eventually went behind the scenes in a lot of stuff. So for me, it was just getting back in front of the camera, getting back to just going up to random people I don't know and having conversations with them.
Right.
So I think that's helped a lot with interviewing over at Distance Nerding on Thursdays, and then starting our new show that we just aired and premiered this month already. So now,
Distance Nerding, or
no, for the podcast,
for your show.
Yeah, we now have a show called Conversations in the Void, where I talk to people in the horror community and interview them.
Nice.
So,
because I know when we first got started, when I talked to you a year ago about when Mostly Pot Out at Night, it was mostly you and Salem talking about movies.
Yes.
But I had asked you, did you do interviews or anything like that? And you said you weren't quite comfortable and you weren't there yet.
Correct.
So you're there now.
Yes. Yeah.
How's that been?
We are booked out the rest of the year already.
Wow. Is it a weekly?
Yeah, it's weekly. It's every Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Central my time, and it's on our YouTube channel. So before we were just uploading the podcast to YouTube, and now we have a weekly interview show on the Pod Out at Night YouTube channel.
Wow.
So,
and Cam says he'll be on the new show in December.
Yes, he is. So with the great connections I made through Distance Learning and here at Kyber Cave, I've been able to explode and grow that out. It was months in the making, and stuff kept getting moved around. I was obviously doing a couple more shows for Kyber Cave as well.
Right.
But I said, you know what? It's October. It's time to get spooky. Let's get this going. So I started it.
Right. Well, why don't you tell people who may not be familiar with you, because when you first got started with Kyber Cave, well, first off, it started off with an interview asking you about your show, and then you came on to a show that we used to do called Kyber Cave After Dark. It's kind of weird saying that we used to do. We did like 54 episodes of that. We had a long run with that show.
Yeah.
And then you've morphed into other shows. You're now producing your own shows on KCP, as well as stuff that you do on our sister channel, Distance Nerding. How did that start with Distance Nerding?
I think that happened in October as well, shortly after being on here on October 9th of last year, and then kind of just jumping into the chat on After Dark. And then one episode, I remember it was about ghosts and other pictures that we can't discuss on the Sunday show.
Right.
That Fourzze like, hey, bring him on. So I jumped on there, and then Distance Nerd had Lord Blurraw in October, and they go, hey, do you want to join the show? We're talking to a horror guy who puts on horror shows, and he was on a couple weeks ago here in Saber Rattle.
Right.
So that was the very first time on Distance Nerding for me, was jumping on there and help interview Lord Blurraw.
Right. And at that point, you weren't used to doing interviews as much, right? That was your first kind of interview, right?
Correct. In this medium, yes. I in high school and college, I did radio and talked to people that way. And as you hinted at before, brewing. So I would know all the breweries and stuff like that. So I'd talk to people about beer, but not necessarily about horror or nerdy stuff. So it was just a different direction for me.
Since you've been doing this podcast in the horror genres and stuff, do you feel like you pretty much know it all and have seen it all, or do you feel like there's like so many? Do you feel like there's a lot of new directions or new things for you to learn, or things that you want to try out on your show?
Yeah, there's definitely more stuff I want to do. Obviously, people that watch the show, I like to game as well, and I'd love to do. I'm trying to expand the Graveyard and the Mostly Pilot Night, mostly horror brand as well. So we're debating doing some like a From the Graveyard type show where I play all horror games all the time as well. Just a once a week show, because my co-host, he loves to play horror games as well. And so then we hopefully then to do like a collaboration with Mezzo and Fourzze and Kyber Cave and Distance Learning, and just get all that kind of like a gaming crew where we can each stream to our own platform, but all be together as well.
Oh, I love that idea. I know even like a year ago we had talked about, I was talking with Aubrey, and we were talking about specifically when we were talking about gaming, but we were talking about specifically scary games. And in fact, I think that's where we got started, and then we just kind of moved around with the games and stuff like that. Do you find, what do you like better, scary movies or scary games?
I that's a tough question because movies are generally shorter. My time is very finite at this point in time, especially with all
Right.
this other stuff I'm doing. So while I'm watching 3 to 6 movies a week for the podcast, there's still, we're looking at 8 to 10 hours there alone. And gaming, I love horror games. I think I would like to do more horror games just because there's maybe a better chance for me to get scared because I'm so desensitized to movies at this point in time.
Right.
They don't do anything to me.
Wow.
So maybe I'll get jump scared for once and playing a video game. So that's my goal. But I love to do, I like horror gaming just because it encompasses such a long period of time of video games. And it's always been there since day one.
Right. Well, and recently, and I don't know how much of this you can talk about. If I'm overstepping my bounds, or if there's things that you can't talk about, just feel free to tell me to shut up, and we'll shut it down or whatever. But more recently, too, you've been working with a film crew, correct? Like an indie film crew.
Yes.
What's that been like for you?
So when I was gone for a long weekend last month, I went down. I can't give too much about it, but they were guests. They are Horror Dads Productions. There are a couple of guys, one in Michigan, one in southern-ish Illinois, and one in Reno, Nevada. And they were on distance learning, and we're just, talking a lot about horror stuff. And they go, "Hey, we're doing a movie. Do you want to come be part of it?" I go, "Absolutely. I mean, why not take the opportunity to do that?" Right.
Right.
So
had you ever worked on a movie or anything like that before? I mean, I know you had stage production and such, but an actual physical movie with cameras and sounding and lighting.
So not to that extent, because I was also a backyard wrestler at one point in time where we filmed everything we did, and we did sketches.
Right.
So in that aspect, yes, but that was also 15 years ago. Like, we were some of the first videos up in YouTube in 2008.
Wow.
And we got on Spike TV and all that stuff too. But no, this was a completely different thing, and it was an opportunity that I had to jump at. And they seemed to like me well enough to invite me to do more things with them.
What did you do? Did you do kind of like grip work or like tech kind of work? Or
I mean,
obviously you couldn't specialize in camera work or lighting or anything like that.
Right. This is their style is, and like I said, it's Horror Dads Productions. They do found footage style stuff. So there's not a lot of technical equipment that's there. You have your microphone, you have your camera, and then you have really lighting is based on whatever time of day it is. So it's pretty low budget, like micro budget, they call it.
When you said found footage, are you talking about something similar to like Blair Witch Project, where it's meant to look very organic and shaky? It's not meant to look like, a multi-million-dollar production crew.
Correct. Yeah, it's that style.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their entire genre that they're diving into, because with stuff like Shudder and Tubi and stuff like that this is the cheapest way to make horror movies at this point in time with really, really small budgets.
And it seems even too that, I mean, from just in general, I think this has kind of always been the adage, but I think, a lot of producers, if you don't have money to make the big budget movie you want to make, you start in horror. Horror seems to be a genre where you don't have to spend as much or even have as many locations, or you can write everything out of a house, basically.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I learned all the ins and outs. So like I said, I drove down there, met with the director, and then he drove us to the locations we were shooting for that day, which was another 4-hour drive. So it was about 6 hours from my house.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I just kind of went over the script, and he goes, "Hey, we have a part for you. Do you want it?" I go, "Okay, great. Let's do it."
Right.
So, got to learn the script, got to meet every actor, every producer and director and writer, all the same guy. So really, really small crew.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's absolutely great. So like I said, so I got to have a part. So I have an official IMDb page now.
Woo! Did you have a line?
Oh yeah, I had a couple lines.
Oh, woohoo! Look at you.
So And then learning how they do the movies, because as people may not know from the Saber Rattle community, but that Mezzo and I are working on a horror script that we want to do.
Right.
And as we discussed before, is that we would love to do short story horror forms on YouTube as well. So this was just a great opportunity to learn how they do it for next to nothing budget, and how we can do it here for what we want to do with Kyber Cave and grow with that aspect.
Right. So you felt like you learned a lot even from that short, because you only had one weekend with them. Is that correct? Or?
Yeah, but it's a part of a double feature. It's called Split Screen. That's coming out. They said the winter, so maybe end of December, January it'll come out.
Wow.
I'll make sure to keep everyone posted where to check that out and stuff like that. But it's about a 45-50 minute movie, and we shot all of that in the weekend.
Oh, wow. And when you say come out, where does that mean? Is it going to be like on Netflix, or is it going to be at film festivals, or online, or?
I don't know that part right now. I know the director that I worked with has a movie that's premiere is this upcoming weekend in a small town festival that he's doing. And then they work with distribution rights and stuff like that. So they do some physical media stuff that you can buy, and then it's either going to Tubi or they're trying to get to Shudder right now as well. Just a digital distribution plan.
Wow, that's incredible. So, how many shows do you do with Distance Nerding?
I do one. I do the Thursdays with the build, where I help Phil interview people and make brackets for their nerdy stuff and stuff like that. I do harass Phil all day on his gaming show on Monday. So I'm a moderator for his Twitch stream as well.
Right.
So
you've got Monday. Okay, so you upload Mondays on our channel. We got Retro Alcove, but then you mess with Phil over Distance Nerding on Mondays. Saturdays you are with us for Saturday morning nerd out, and then Friday nights you have Beard in the Chair, correct?
Yes.
And then Thursday, God. So what do you have? Wednesdays and Sundays off to see your family? Then Wednesdays is your other show, right?
Yep.
Mostly. Good Lord.
So what we do is a little behind the scenes for Retro Alcove is we typically record over the weekend. So then I will take Sunday and edit the Retro Alcove and for the upload. And then that's why I do all the prep work for the YouTube stuff, the YouTube show. And then I do the prep work for writing out the outlines for the podcast. And I record over the weekends and edit and then upload as well.
Wow. Okay, let me ask you, because I know that this was a thing at one point, but you and I haven't spoken in a while, so I don't know where it is in the whole process. But are you still working with the Brewers?
There is a possibility. There's some development last night that I can't legally talk about. So no, if I brew again, that'd be just one thing that I'd like to do, just to fund then to make movies. So I want to take nerd stuff to make more nerd stuff. So
I just saw this would be perfect. I just saw a meme a few days ago that was like, why can't we have like a Buffalo Wild Wings, but instead of it being a sports bar, it's like a total sci-fi nerd bar? And I was like, that's not a bad idea.
Oh, my before the brewery I was at a couple of years ago got bought out, the tap room was going to be all 50s and 60s sci-fi and horror movies showing all the time, and the motif, and all our poster work was going to be rips off of the 50s and 60s classic posters.
Nice.
So that's very much in my vein, and if the brewery happens, Mezzo is going to be making all the artwork for us. So
woohoo! Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Oh yeah, like Scum and Villainy, Mike says. Yeah, exactly. I've never been down there, but I've heard a lot about Scum and Villainy. Yeah. How do you find balance in your life, or is it just? I mean, are you a workaholic by nature?
Yes. The way I was raised, if you're not working, you're being lazy. So that's just how I was raised. So yes, I have a regular, really 7 to 4 job. but you do that about 45, 50 hours a week.
Right.
And then with all this other stuff, it's about 20 to 30 hours of extra stuff on top of my day job.
Wow. And then you still have a family as well.
Mm-hmm.
That is
So,
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it works out really well because when I get off of work, the kids come home from school. So then I can help them with the homework, and then we can eat dinner as a family. And then I do most of everything else once the kids go to bed.
Wow.
So
how old are your kids?
8, 10, and 12.
Do they see what you're doing with all these podcasts and all the other shows? Or so they're
they
totally
could care less. other than finding out I was in a movie, which the segment's called the Illinois Valley Murder Tapes. Mm-hmm. And my kid's like, I'm gonna show everyone at school. I'm like, don't put that on your school iPad.
Yeah, that's what you need right now.
Yeah, they're more interested in the potential movie stuff that we're doing. And have you heard about the TV show that we might be doing?
I think so. Isn't it like a haunted house traveling thing or something?
Something like that. Yeah, like I said, it's me called.
This is with the dad, the film dads or whatever, right? Or
yes. So I had such a great experience with them. Like I said, they invited me to help them and do more stuff with them, and we were talking because I was spending 20-hour days with the cast and crew. So,
right.
It's going to be essentially. Do you remember the show Destination Truth on Sci-Fi in the mid-aughts with Josh Gates, who now does Expedition Unknown?
Expedition Unknown. Wait, you mean that one I did my nerd out on?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the one where they go to like different places, different locations?
Yeah, so they kind of did around the world haunted locations, creature searches. So they look for like Bigfoot in China and Bigfoot in Australia and stuff like that. It was more of a creature show, but what we're doing is called States Unknown. That's the title. And we are very skeptical with the approach to it. And what seems to be the selling point, the tag that I came up with, is when you eliminate the known, you're left with the unknown. Ooh. So any piece of evidence you may have that you'd have to research and try to explain away, and whatever you have left is tangible evidence you may have. Right.
So what is your hand in this production?
I'm gonna be in front of the camera investigating. Ooh. I'm gonna be the tech specialist.
Are you gonna be like Ghostbusters with the equipment and the?
I actually do have some equipment that people that watch Metzos on her Phasmophobia. I do have a spirit box. I do have an EMF detector.
Oh wow, those things are real.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Real. I mean, yeah, the devices exist. Mm-hmm. What they find, that's questionable.
Graveyard, have you ever had any unexplained experience in your life?
Growing up, there was always my sisters had their room was in the upstairs, and growing up, I'd always hear the TV on upstairs when no one else was home. Wow. And in my parents' house, I'm not the only one to ever have an experience like that with things that go on and off and stuff like that. So we joke about it a lot. It always scared the crap out of my older sisters. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I mean, being desensitized to horror movies, that my imagination doesn't run wild with me. So I tend to look more towards the scientific point of view for things myself.
Right. Do you have anything? Does everything take up about the same amount of time, or do you find yourself, spending a lot of time with Retro Alcove and not as much time as you want with mostly potting out at night, or is there a good balance between all of everything that you're doing?
Yeah, I think there's a very good balance. Obviously, if I have to step away for a show, we have a great crew here at Kyber Cave that we're able to take care of other people's shows. Right. The podcast has always been my first and foremost priority for a lot of the stuff. But no, I think it's a well balanced. Sometimes I'm rushing to do Retro Alcove occasionally, but no, it's a good balance. Like I said, if I was brewing, I was doing that 30 hours a week. This is just my other thing to do instead. So
Right. And that new, okay, I forgive me because I forgot what the name was. The new show that you're doing where it's the interviews. What is that one
Mhm.
called?
Conversations in the Void.
Conversations Void. And Salem's part of that one as well, right?
Yes, he is my off-screen producer. No one hears his voice, no one sees his face. He kind of sits in the green room, like Matzo does for some shows, and puts up comments and helps me keep track of time, stuff like that, because I get really lost in time.
Right. So he's the beard in the chair for that one.
Yes.
He's the behind the scenes, not seen. Because it seems like you two have grown a lot. How does he feel about the growth? Because obviously, I'm not saying that, because I don't know what other things he does as well. But obviously, this last year, you've grown a lot outside of just the podcast. How does he feel about that?
He's enjoying it. Like I said, he'd rather, he goes with me to events. We are planning on going to conventions in 2024 to get the brand out there more. And, we bring stuff for the shows that we do with distance learning, QR codes for Kyber Cave and friends and family that we make along the way. So our goal is to go do more stuff like that. He'd rather not talk to people. So I am more of the face behind a lot of the stuff.
Right.
But with the stuff that we're working on and the other horror movies that I want to work on, he likes to write. So he is our writer for everything we do for the most part.
Wow. That's fantastic. Where do you see your show? I know that the Into the Void or Conversations of the Void is a newer aspect.
Yes.
Is that something that you're going to want to try to grow and continue, or is that going to eventually morph into something else? Or
since our podcast is partnered with Comic-Con Radio podcast.
Nice.
Network, we got that a couple months ago. And they want to start sending us to conventions to talk to people across the country.
Oh, wow.
I hope, knock on wood, they do it. And we get to do stuff like that because I'd love to go talk and interview people in person and con and stuff like that.
So it'd be kind of like what distance nerding does at conventions, but more for horror in your category.
Yeah, because horror is a niche crowd at conventions, but as you know, you go to conventions and distance nerd knows is there's horror stuff always there too.
Yeah. I mean, in California alone, we've got 2 or 3 cons that are specifically for horror. Sinister Con. I can't even think of some of the different names, but yeah, they're horror cons.
Yeah. So I'd love to see that community grow and get as big as it's just another part of nerddom that people tend to push to the side, I feel.
So you feel horror is hand in hand with nerd culture?
Absolutely. Because everyone in your nerd fandom, every TV show, every movie, they all started in horror.
Right. Let's see. Mike says I can point you to a couple that play up to horror in Michigan.
Yes, I'd absolutely send them my way, Mike. That'd be awesome. Like I said, we are planning to do stuff in 2024. And with Horror Dads, I'm trying to get them out there to promote their stuff too. So hopefully we're going to be taking road trips with them and just promoting our stuff across the board.
Wow, that's amazing. Is there anything that you haven't had a chance to do yet that is on your bucket list? I mean, I'm not talking about, say, specific, like, oh, I really want to interview, this particular person, but more of something, a thing that you would like to do, like travel more or, get out, see more locations or.
Yeah, with what I'm hoping was as a podcast grows that I get to do more interviews and like travel to the States and do stuff like that. And the show, I'm hoping I've been to 48 states. I've seen all the natural landmarks there are in this country.
Right.
So that's not exciting to me, but I'd love to be able to get paid to go travel to other states and then just do research in the lore of all paranormal type stuff.
I was gonna say if the TV show took off, and you were able, I don't want to talk about the exact details, but if you were financially able to leave your 9 to 5 job that you have now, let's say, you were making the same exact amount of money to go do the travel show, would you do that? Would you quit your 9 to 5?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love nothing more to be a content creator in YouTube and take the graveyard persona and just bring it out as much as I possibly could.
Right.
So yeah.
What is something about graveyard that people would be surprised to find out? Like I don't know, like you have a huge Barbie collection or something.
I guess a lot of people don't know that I nerd out on pretty much the same exact stuff that they do. It's I'm more seen as the horror guy, but I love sci-fi just as much.
Right.
And like I said, people know I'm a gamer, but they probably don't know that I have every system ever created. Period.
Right. Right. That's incredible.
Yeah, so I'm a big tech nerd because obviously that's what I do in my day-to-day job, but I love preserving the history of technology.
Right. Do you ever think you would do like, because I know on Retro Alcove you play the different systems, but do you think you'd ever do something like where you talked about the different systems or almost like a podcast for like retro?
So the other channel I have on YouTube is called SMM Gaming Channel that I started in 2020. And we did just that. We had a series called The Road to, where we picked a video game that had a whole bunch of characters. So you take Smash Brothers on the original Nintendo 64, and then we played every game that led up to it with those characters. There's 110.
Wow.
And then we talk about the history of the consoles, of the characters. And we started that a long time ago. And then COVID happened, so my buddy I was doing it with wasn't allowed to come in my house anymore for a while. So it kind of died, and then it got really costly to edit the videos for ourselves. People are charging, one charging me like $500 a month to edit the videos for us.
Wow.
So,
wow. I cannot believe how much you have accomplished and you are still accomplishing.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's been a wild ride. And for all those that don't know, we are also now published in Spoiler Magazine. So now Salem and I write articles for a magazine.
Woohoo! Tell us about that. What is the magazine?
Spoiler Magazine.
Okay.
I think they're pretty common in most comic book shops. They talk everything nerdy across the board. So it's new comics, new video games, new movies, new TV shows. And they are part of the Comic-Con radio network. And they reached out to us a couple months ago about writing for them. And we submitted some stuff. And now we are writers. We get monthly assignments. Maybe we're going to start writing weekly for them as well. Just small snippets of articles and stuff like that.
Wow. So you're writing, you're producing, you're playing video games, you're interviewing people. What is it that you're not doing? Is there anything that you're not doing that you want to do or you want to try out?
I want to write and direct a movie.
Do you have a movie in your head?
Yes. I have 2 movies in my head.
Oh, is that the one that you and Mez are working on?
Yes, that is one of them. And then I also want to write about there's a cryptid in this area that is really unknown. It's the Owl Man of Alsip, Illinois. It's very akin to Mothman, if you've heard of Mothman.
Yeah.
So I am working on getting Salem to help me write that script so then we can work on it, because Horror Dad said they will help me make it and distribute and get it out there. So yeah, I'm hopefully great things ahead.
Now let me ask you, did you go see Blood and Honey?
Of course.
Does that type of movie encourage you or discourage you? I mean, what I think is interesting is that they, of course, I haven't seen it. From what I hear, it's a horrible movie. However, from a movie company perspective, I want to say they filmed it on like $30,000-$40,000 budget or something,
Yep.
and it ended up making a couple $100,000. So even though it was a crappy movie and it looked low quality, low production, it was still able to make a lot of money for its company.
Oh yeah, yeah. I you'll hear me say it a lot on this. I love bad movies. I really, really do. I want to make the cheesiest stuff possible. So seeing stuff like that, it gives me hope that anyone can make a movie. If you see the passion of it, you can do it. And that's why I enjoy horror so much, because it's more of a expression of the artist, of the writer, of the director, and it's more passion into it than the studio made big things they throw hundreds of $millions at.
Right. Well, even I remember, and I honestly wasn't a fan of this movie. I guess I didn't really get it. But I remember when Blair Witch came out, that being an independent movie and, shot on, next to no budget.
Yeah.
But it was able to generate so much, money, face it, money for the studios, that movie single-handedly made the bigger movie companies turn around and look at some of these lower budget movies.
Yeah. I think it did great things. Like I said, we don't discuss the sequel to it because it was awful. But like I said, I'd love to eventually, if a studio gave me $1 million to make a movie, would I do it? Yes. Absolutely.
Right.
I would do it. But I still want, if I was to write movies and direct movies and stuff like that, I'd want to be a passion project, not just there for a paycheck.
Right. Well, Kevin Smith did Clerks on like $35,000 or something like that, borrowing with credit cards and borrowing money from everyone that he has.
Oh yeah.
Do you have, okay, let's say I had an amount of money for you and said, okay, you need to pump out a script in 3 months. Do you have the stories enough in your head that you could sit down if your whole schedule was cleared off and you could just dedicate time to working on your movie? Do you think you could get your story written out and everything ready to go?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, there was when I was about 18, while still, I was just got out of high school and was working on scripts and skits and stuff like that, that I had outlines for movies. So it's 20 years later and I have the ideas still there that I want to do. So I have about 5 movies in my head right now.
Wow.
So,
and I know that you said that you feel like desensitized where, movies can't really do anything, but do you think you have enough creative ideas to scare other people?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Like I said, what Metzel and I are working on, I've done a lot of research. She's done a lot of research. The idea that we're doing, surprisingly, has not happened yet. And it's very surprising with what the movie is about. Like how it's essentially influencers and the evils of influencers, the fear of influencers. And to be able to do something like that and poke fun at it, because I don't think we're at that point where we can make fun of them as much as we can. So we're still in the middle of it. So there's not stuff out there, which is, like I said, very surprising.
Right.
And I have a trilogy in my head that would be very unexpected turn.
A horror trilogy?
Yes.
Wow.
Where essentially you don't find out who the killer is of the entire trilogy until the last movie.
Wow. Okay. So I'm digging
it'd be cliffhangers for 1 and 2, and then you'd find out all the stuff at the end. So it'd be, instead of being a 3-act movie, it'd be a 3-act trilogy.
Wow. Okay. Do you have other scripts in your head for besides horror? I know you said you were also interested in sci-fi and other things. If I commissioned you to write a different type of movie besides horror, do you have those stories in mind too?
I do not, but Salem does. He's written short stories and submitted it, and I'd love to put that stuff into a bigger screen or even a comic format. Heck, I'd like to make comics. The right story for that.
Do you see any of this, or and I don't want to know amounts or anything like that, but does anything that you're doing lead a pathway to you being able to make money from these avenues? So for example, there's people that make short movies, but they do it for the fun of it. You see a lot of Star Wars fan movies where they know they're not going to make money from it. They
Right.
know George Lucas isn't going to buy it, but they do it for the love of the art. Do you see some of the projects you're doing having a pathway to actually making money, or do you do this for the love of the arts?
I'm doing it for the love of the arts right now. Right now we're not getting paid to write articles from Spoiler Magazine. They talk about paying us and becoming staff writers at some point in time. So any money I would make from doing any of this, I would just funnel back into another art form. So if I made money writing articles, I'd put that money towards making the movie.
Right. All right.
So, I mean, yes, would I like to see it go somewhere? Yes. Do I think it'll happen? Maybe, but not probably enough to ever quit the day job.
Well, just let me know if you start working on these movies. I want to get some Kyber Cave Sabers in there for product placement.
Oh, we already discussed the Easter egg for Kyber Cave on the movie that Metzo and I are working, because they're going to be browsing the internet and they'll scroll past YouTube and see us there.
I love Easter eggs.
So, oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of Easter eggs, so I'd love to throw in anything and everything at the wall.
Fantastic. Do you think, like right now, I look at channels, especially on YouTube, and I look at channels like Emergency Awesome, New Rock Stars, a lot of these channels that are kind of like theory channels, where they talk a lot about, Marvel movies or Star Wars movies. Right now, we're hearing a lot about superhero fatigue. Yeah. We're hearing, especially Disney is just getting kicked all over the place for a lot of its bad decisions in several different categories. Do you think this is a problem? Do you think that this is just a temporary thing and people will eventually get back into it, like the hero movies and stuff like that, or do you think it's just a temporary problem or a long-term problem? Because right now we just had the actors strike, and then a lot of people talk about the woke culture and how they don't like that, but I kind of see things balancing back out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the fatigue will always be there, because if you look at like superhero movies in particular, you had started off essentially, let's say, the 79 Superman, right? And then we had 3 sequels after that. Well, the last one I think was like 86. Right. And people are like, oh, this movie's dead. And then what do we get 3 years later? We got Batman 89. So that revitalized the superhero genre. Then we got Batman Forever and Batman Robin. And people are like, okay, we're done with this stuff. And then all of a sudden we get Blade and X-Men and Spider-Man just 2 years later. So it's if the fatigue happens, it's just a short reset that's needed. Honestly.
I didn't really think about that, because then people kind of actually, after the Batman 89 with Tim Burton, the whole superhero formula kind of started dying out again until Batman the Dark Knight series came back, and it was still superheroes, but it was like a different angle on it. It was more gritty and more realistic. So it was the same thing, it was just a different take on it.
Yeah. I mean, do we have too much content? Absolutely. Hands down, we do. But as far as like Star Wars is concerned, we need better content.
Right. Just about the only thing I haven't heard you mention is comic books. Could you ever see yourself doing a comic?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, with the stuff I'm working on, with stuff with Horror Dads and what Salem writes, and knowing all these people I've talked to in the comic world because of distance learning, I'd love to get that out there. Whether my stuff becomes a comic first and then becomes a movie, or a movie first and then becomes a comic, I'd love to do it. Man,
and in this day and age, you could take an idea, make a movie, a comic book, a video game, a music soundtrack. Yeah. You can do it all.
Oh yeah, like if I was to make a comic book about nothing, it'd be about Salem and I being trapped in the bad horror movies we watch. So each limited run 5-issue would be us trapped in, say, Stephen King's It, and how we would react to it.
Right. I could see you guys like totally taking it like an MST3K kind of like crapping on like not being stuck inside it, but like just totally making fun of it at the same time.
Absolutely.
Having almost like this a fourth wall dimension where you're trapped inside the story, so you don't take it all that seriously.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely. I'd love to do that. Like I said, the cheesiness, the schlock would translate really well into a comic.
Right. I love it. Well, for all of you fans out there, I know that Graveyard's information is going to be in the details. You're going to be able to find out about his we mostly pot out at night conversations into the void, his distance nerding shows, and of course all the shows that he does here on Kyber Cave Productions will be listed in the descriptions. Graveyard, is there anything? I can't believe 45 minutes have gone by really quick. Is there anything you want to leave people with?
Yeah, follow us on all social media at Pod Out at Night, where you see me post new information. I did put up a new subscriber reward program for our YouTube channel. Like I said, we're low, so we just started, so we're low, but make sure people go check out the Pod Out at Night YouTube channel and just give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, and we'll hand out more swag in the horror community as I go to more places and get more stuff signed to give away for prizes.
And as you can tell, we did not do this. We did not do it intentionally, but we're totally matched out. Same hat, same shirt tonight. If you would like your own They Mostly Pot Out at Night shirt, you can get that as well. I absolutely love the shirt. This is a long sleeve shirt. So they have lots of great merchandise and a great show over there too. So make sure you are checking that out. Checking them out on the Comic-Con Network. Can they find you through the Comic-Con Network?
Yeah, so you just go to comicconradio.com, look under podcasts, and you can search for our podcast. We have, other than Distant Learning, we probably have the most podcasts out there.
Wow. That is absolutely amazing. Well, I'm excited for everything that you're doing, Graveyard. I'm absolutely proud to have you on our channel. It's such a huge honor to have you on, because I know you've got a million things that you're doing all at the same time. So we are lucky to have you hang out with us and be part of our family.
Well, thanks for having me. Good to be back.
Thank you so much, Graveyard. And like I said, make sure to check out Graveyard 3 days a week on Kyber Cave Productions. But in the descriptions, we'll have a description of all of the channels that he does. Make sure to check out all his stuff, get your own merch, and support my man. Thank you so much, Graveyard.
All right. Good night.
Take it easy. I appreciate having you on.
Hi there, everybody.
I'm so excited to hear about their show, the Conversations into the Void, because I remember talking to Graveyard like 6 or 7 months ago and asked him, like, dude, we're meeting all these people in horror. Like, are you going to start doing interviews? And he was wanting to do it, but he didn't quite feel ready to do it yet. So
Guess is working on a new intro and outro for you.
Yeah.
I found like a really cool sinking hole animation and like ground kind of thing. So that's something I'm gonna play with it to see how it goes. Well, thank you so much, Graveyard. You're a good friend, and we're just always happy to have you on. It's one of those, Van tries to keep the feel of like just hanging out and chatting, and that's really a lot of what that is, especially when it's such a good friend.
Right.
So I'm been in the background, kind of like, I want to hang out a little bit. So thank you so much. You guys can check out his description in the links below. I put up their YouTube channel where you can actually catch, even like you can listen to the podcast, or you can watch the live streams of the last 3 interviews that he has had, which Terry Bolo, was that her name? Terry Bolo, Josh Brucker, and Hunter Nino are all on his
Ooh.
channel right now. Hunter is one of the gentlemen that he worked with Horror Dads, and so they'll be working together on future projects. You can also check out They Mostly Put Out at Night.com, which is also in the link. I put it in the chat, but it's also in the description, of course, for all of you watching after the fact. And hello to all of you watching our upload. All right,
I will tell you their YouTube channel. I'll be honest, I haven't jumped in on their YouTube channel in probably 3 or 4 months now. But I used to go to sleep to that because I know like the first 2 or 3, it was just them talking.
Like
so it would be a black
Graveyard.
screen.
Graveyard.
Dude, he's got a great voice to go to sleep. It was fantastic. Some of the topics might not be the best for going to sleep to.
It's like you're gonna fall asleep having a dream about whatever movie or series that they're talking about. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to check out Graveyard on our channel. He's on several days a week. I think my favorite show that one of my favorite, I can't even really choose because Retro Alcove has like a special place in my heart, especially for the old puzzle games. And then Saturday Morning Nerd Out is just so much fun because it feels like we're just nerding out together, which is like the best thing. All right.
But then I love him and Aaron's relationship too. So watching the beards in the chair.
They're my premier sons. I talked a little bit about it. They kind of took off with it on their own, and I'm like letting them leave the nest. And if they still need me to do their laundry, they come and ask me a question. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Next, we have Kevin Hogan, who is our convention reporter. Every week, he goes to conventions here in this area. Again, you have no idea how many there are in Northern California. There are so many. Countless, like in one that actually is like OhanaCon that moves like places
every single weekend. They're in a different city.
Yeah, every weekend they're in a different city. They move around. So please enjoy this report from Kevin Hogan.
Hello, this is Kevin Hogan from Northern California, an episode of California Comic-Con Adventures. On the weekend of October the 14th, 2023, our friends over at Ohana Comic-Con visited the city of Manteca, California for another one of their fun Comic-Con events there. And then the very next day, on October the 15th, they went to Castro Valley for another event. Ohana Comic-Con, as you know, travels up and down the state of California every weekend, having another Comic-Con in a different city every weekend. Ohana Comic-Con events are very economically priced. Admissions usually less than $10 there, and kids 10 and under are free. They even have a $1 off coupon if you print off the Facebook flyer from the website, and their events are usually in places with often free street parking nearby, like Moose and Elks Lodges or Veterans Halls there. And they're fun getting to go and look around the vendor halls there, where you get to see local artists showing off their arts and crafts there. And if you hang out to the afternoon, usually around 2:30 is their cosplay contest there, where you get to hang out with your local friends in their cosplay contest there, and see their fun costumes they made there to win some fun prizes there. So whenever Ohana Comic-Con comes to a town near you, definitely recommend checking them out there. Also on the weekend of Saturday, October the 14th, 2023, was the annual Sacramento Zombie Walk and Halloween Fair over at the Sunrise Mall in Sacramento. There we got to see hundreds and hundreds of fans put on their Halloween costumes, but mostly come as zombies, of course, there to be a giant zombie horde walking around the mall there, just like in the Dawn of the Dead movies there. And for those of you that weren't having their own costumes, there were people there that were doing like makeup artist effects to get people kind of like suited up as zombies there. That was very nice. They also had food trucks, live DJ music there. David Perez was putting on a Thriller dance for everyone there to join in on, so that was really fun. They closed off the streets nearby so people could walk down the street like a giant zombie horde, so that was really cool there. There are other cities nearby that do put on similar events there, like Lodi also does a zombie walk, also is there. So if you ever get a chance, that is a really fun outdoor event to participate in. Also on that same weekend of October the 14th, 2023, was the Further Confusion's annual picnic over at the Lake Chabot Park in Castro Valley. Further Confusion is the largest Further gathering over in San Jose every January, And halfway through the year, usually around October, they have a cosplay gathering, usually with a picnic also, that's over at the Lake Chabot Park area there near the Oakland Bay area, where they just like kind of hang out, have some fun, take some group pictures there. It's a great thing to do there between big conventions there. So whenever it's between Comic-Cons, it's always a fun idea just to kind of make your own kind of fun events there with your friends there. Like you can go host your own bowling events there, do mini golfing, and kind of come up with some other fun ideas there to pass the time. And for those of you looking forward to upcoming events, there's still lots more to do for the rest of October. For example, on Saturday, October the 28th, 2023, the Power Rangers are going to be having a cosplay gathering in Vallejo Blue Rock Springs there on Saturday, October the 28th at 10 a.m. And also, for those of you in the Solano Cosplay Gathering group there, they're having a cosplay gathering at the Art Gallery in Vacaville from 1 to 4, also on Saturday, October the 28th. And on October the 28th, there at the Holiday Inn in San Jose, Silicon Valley, is going to be YumiCon, so be sure to get your tickets for that. And also, our friends over at Ohana Comic-Con are going to be visiting the Salinas area on October the 29th from 11 to 4. So be sure to check out the Ohana Comic-Con if you're in the Salinas area. And also, if you're in the Mountain View area, the whole weekend of October the 28th through the 29th is going to be the Animation Comic Game Festival there. That's going to be at the Scientology Community Center of Silicon Valley at Mountain View. And also, our friends over at the Weekend Blender are going to be taking over the West Valley Mall in Tracy the whole weekend of October the 20th through the 29th there. That's going to be from 11 to 8 on the Saturday the 28th and from 11 to 6 on October the 29th there. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the picks, and we'll see you out there at the next Comic-Con.
Thank you so much, Kevin Hogan, for your report. Very, very much enjoy all the information that you're able to give us and all the photos. I was trying to say videos and photos together, and I was like, photos. That's how I wanted to come out. So thank you so much. And then if anyone's curious, I actually watched Saw 10 last night.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of an accident, and I'll explain how that works. Thursday morning, my husband woke up and found that somebody had rented Saw 10 on our Vudu account. If you don't know what that is, it's like it used to be owned by Walmart, but it's kind of like you can rent by digital movie kind of things.
Right.
And so he signed out, and come to find that 2 years ago when I visited my sister in New Jersey, I forgot to sign out of my Vudu account there. And it was on the TV that her almost 2-year-old is using. And my sister walked into her room after she woke up, and Saw 10 was playing on her TV. It was about 10 minutes into the movie.
Oh, wow.
So my niece accidentally rented Saw 10. And so we're like, okay, well, let's watch it.
Wow.
And Saw is not scary. It's just gory. Like, that's all it really is. It's just me going, ooh, look at those. Look at that one still looks like a dummy arm. You can tell, like me, like dissecting the way they did because a lot of it's practical, right? With how they do it. Like you're watching and you don't see like a ton of CGI stuff happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I like, as Graveyard has had on his last couple of interviews, he asked them, his guests, practical or digital, and it's like, if you can do practical, it's always better. And it's because with digital effects, if they're not done super well, there's this uncanny valley, this feeling that you subconsciously as a viewer it's not real, right? And so then you have this, like, it just takes you out of it feeling. That
whole Polar Express.
That one was just like PS2 animation. It's a beautiful story, it really is, but it was like uncanny valley of it kind of looks like Tom Hanks kind of doesn't, like, kind of a thing. Like, it's like Tom Hanks variants. So all right, thank you so much, Kevin Hogan, for that report. Guys,
Thank you, Kevin.
We always end our show on Talk of the Town for some fun Star Wars TikToks, but I know Van has got something to say.
Please, like, subscribe, and comment. Leave any comment, even leave an emoji down at the bottom. That helps us in the algorithm, helps push out all of our shows. Whether you are into gaming, whether you're into live interviews, medical news, Whatever you are into, we have something for everybody. I believe we're starting a new show this week. I've got to confirm that with Anthony and with John, but we have new shows, new stuff popping up all the time. We always find ways to keep Mets on her toes.
Always. Sorry, I just rolled my eyes.
But please make sure to check out like, subscribe, and comment. Check out kybercave.com and kcpmerch.com. Don't forget, we have a Patreon and a Discord channel as well.
There's so much
different stuff.
So many things. I'll post a Discord link right now in our chat, and you are welcome to join and hang out with us offline, in a sense, but online, but off screen, and talk nerdy stuff. If you guys like our nerd out shows, you can actually take part in them, in a sense, in our Discord. We have channels for those shows. So come join us and let's have some fun. I'd love to see you there.
Woohoo! All right, now we can get along with the talks of the town.
The talk of the town. All right, guys. We will see you tomorrow with Retro Alcove. You guys have a beautiful day and night, and wherever you are. We'll catch you later, Bye, guys.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Peace.